What's up, Dad Bod Nation? Dad Bod Steve. We got another great story for you guys today. Someone who was affected by recovery and drug abuse. Someone who wants to tell the story about life growing up and how it affected them as a family. Please welcome Brooke Rushton. Brooke, thanks so much for
Hey,
showing up
thank
today.
you so much for having me.
Of course, I appreciate you coming down
Yeah,
and coming into the studio.
yeah,
Go
it's
ahead and
really cool.
introduce yourself to the audience.
I am Brooke Rushton. Grew up in Spanish Fork. I have a little brother. His name is Colt Rushton. He just passed away on May 18th of 2025 of a fentanyl overdose. And my story is just that, just
Yeah.
having a little brother struggle.
And a lot of people see that. They see so many people in their family struggle and they don't know how to help them.
Right,
Right.
right.
And so I'm sure that's something that we'll talk about and what you guys had to do and how it
Yeah,
affected you
yeah,
guys. For
yeah.
sure. Well, go ahead and tell us where you grew up, like what life was like
Yeah,
growing up and how
so
things were.
we grew up in American Fork until the year 96. My mom built a house down in Spanish Fork. And me being a girl, I made friends really easily.
Mhm.
With my little brother, it was harder for him to make friends. Kind of fell into the party scene. And
Yeah.
I did too. Um, my mom was a single mom of three kids. So I'm the oldest, then Colt, then Randy. So three babies within 3 years. And she raised us all by herself.
And so you guys are all
We're
close.
all super, super close. My dad was an alcoholic.
Mhm.
Um, hence, the reason why my mom left. Uh, Raised us, by herself. Didn't really start to have a relationship with my dad until I was about 10 ish. And then fishing trips and camping trips and just trying to do all the dad stuff while being an alcoholic.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, we kind of grew up like that, my mom having to work 2 3 jobs, until she got a job. She started working at the Provo Police Department.
Okay.
She was a dispatcher.
That's
And
a stressful job
oh,
in
that
itself
very
too.
stressful job, so dealing with all of that stress and then
Yeah.
coming home to stress because Colt and I we weren't good kids, like, we had good hearts,
Yeah.
but we like to party, we like to hang out and, not do such great things.
Typical 90s
Right?
teenagers.
Typical 90s, before there were phones, before there was really evidence that we were doing anything bad.
Yep.
Um, Colt and I were 16 months apart. So he was always a year younger than me in school. So we hung out with a lot of the same people for the most part. Um, he started really struggling back in, I want to say 98, 99,
Okay.
2000, when oxys got really bad down in Spanish Fork. And then, I had a baby at 17 years old. I had my daughter, Michaela. She's now 25. And, that was a hard time for me, having a baby at 17.
Yeah,
I
for
was
sure.
barely a senior in high school. But, honestly, truly, now she saved my life. She did. I was going down the same path as Colt, but she saved me. So I had a baby, did the mom thing, got married, had a couple more babies. Colt struggled, got in a lot of fights at school. Didn't He stopped going to school. And again, I think it was like the year 2000, 2002, maybe. He finally came to his family. Like his mom, he had my mom, Pam, and my sister and I sit down and told us that he was really struggling with heroin. And that was something that we had suspected ish,
Yeah.
but
There's always signs.
we didn't know. I didn't know what that was, like I didn't know what to look for. I knew that, oxys, all the, smoking weed and drinking. Um, but yeah, and he had struggled for about a year before he even told us that he was struggling. So at that point, like, what do you do?
Yeah. What was
Like,
your
we don't
mom's
know what to
reaction to
do.
that?
My mom, it was just hard. We didn't know what to do. Like the first thought we thought, get him help. We need
Yeah.
to get him help. But how do you get him help? Like it was the year 2002 ish. There's all of these resources now, but
Yeah.
back then there wasn't a lot of resource.
It was jail time.
Gel
Really.
time.
Yeah.
Gel time. He did that. So I think shortly after he had, told us that he was struggling, he got picked up and started to go through the drug court process. They put him in Foothill which is, just a rehab down there by the jail.
Yeah, it's right there by the county jail
Um,
in Utah County.
yeah, and back then nobody tells you that it could be a long process before it clicks in their head, right? That they're going to get it and they'll stay clean.
Yeah.
But when you're a family member newly in it, you automatically think that, oh, they're going to get better. Like this
Yeah.
is this is it. Like they're going to get better. So that's kind of what we thought. We thought, he's going to go through this stint in Foothill and get out, and like he'll be fine. That didn't happen. He got out. This is years and years ago, so I don't know. I don't remember all the little details, but
Yeah.
he just kept spiraling, just getting in trouble a lot of the time. I remember one night he had took my grandma's car, and went on some type of little high speed chase, and the whole time he's like throwing his drugs out the window and in my grandma's car,
Yeah. Like an episode of Cops,
for real.
basically.
Yeah,
Really.
literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
He went to jail. Uh, at that point, I think this is like years later, like maybe like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years later. Uh, my mom just had told him, like, you can't be here anymore. You can't stay here. You've got to, you're not doing anything. You're not working. You're having people come over to the house. People are calling, we can't do this.
Yeah.
So she kicked him out of the house. I think he ended up going down to or up to Lehigh, American Fork, where he stayed with my dad
Okay.
for a while, which that in itself, my dad being an alcoholic,
Doesn't help in that
doesn't
situation.
help. Didn't help.
What was your relationship like with him at this time?
My relationship with him, so I had little babies. Michaela was like 5, and I think Logue was like 2 or 3.
Okay.
And it was hard, because I'm like, knowing what I know now, I wish that I would have been able to like do it that way,
Yeah.
where, like I love you, Colt. Like I love you. I'm taking him up to LDS hospital to detox, right? We're spending 3 hours at the hospital. And I'm like, they admit him, they take him, and then I walk out, he leaves 20 minutes later,
Yeah.
or, running him around trying to like help him get a job or, treatments of all different kinds. I think that there was a program, it might be drug court, where, you have to go every morning and you've got to like UA and all of that stuff. So
Yep.
I'm leaving my babies at home and I'm picking him up and I'm taking him to, wherever he has to go. And I did that a lot.
Yeah. So you were very involved with him.
Very involved, if Colt needed a ride, if he needed a place to stay, if he needed shoes, a toothbrush, a belt, I did that,
Yeah.
I didn't want him to struggle or suffer. I already knew that he was suffering enough in his own head. I wanted to try to help that. But in turn, that was hard for me. And it was hard on my ex-husband at the time, my kids, their mama's like leaving dinner to go take their uncle wherever he needs to go.
Yeah.
But I felt that I had to do that,
Is that
like,
kind of the big sister feeling?
yes. And that, yeah, it goes into that.
Yeah.
I've always been the big sister, Colt's big sister, Randy's big sister. Randy, my little sister, she's always been okay.
Mhm.
She's been good. But Colt really struggled, like people picking on him or, different things. And
Yeah.
big sister Brooke, these drug people coming over to the house, I was going outside and raising my fists, get out of here. And a lot of people can really attest to that, crazy Brooke,
Yeah.
going out there to try to protect Colt. He knew I loved him, but he also knew that he could take advantage of my heart.
Yeah. A lot of people I've interviewed have said, I knew how to manipulate people.
Yeah.
I knew how to
Oh,
get what I
yeah.
wanted. I knew how to talk to people.
Yeah.
And the love that people showed me was the
Yeah.
thing that I fed off of
Yep.
to feed my addiction. And
That's
so it sounds like kind of what he was
absolutely,
doing.
absolutely true. So true. I'm a sucker.
But he's family.
He's family,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. He's my little brother. And so I wanted to help him. I wanted him to get clean. I
Yeah.
wanted him to succeed. I think it was the year probably 2017. He was in drug court,
Mhm.
and they had put him on the MAP program, medical assisted treatment. He was on methadone. So methadone is a controlled medication that you can take for,
Opiate.
opioid addiction. So they put him on that. He did that. He did that for about 3 years maybe. So 2017, I had a boyfriend that worked for UPS, and he was able to help Cole get a job
Oh, that's
at
cool.
UPS being a driver. So he went through the UDOT
Hmm.
physical, and they hired him as a driver, knowing that he was on methadone. And he thrived. He thrived in that job.
That is cool.
He was taking methadone. Um, he bought himself a truck. He had so much money saved. He was able to buy family Christmas presents and take the kids to Lagoon and, just thrive,
Yeah.
date good girls, take him out on dates and just, live life.
Do you think it was because he was busy? Probably. He had his mind on other
Yeah,
things, right? He
yeah,
had a
and I
job,
think
he had
and
other
I really
responsibilities.
truly feel that the MAP program helped him, you
Yeah.
know? Colt did not want to be on that forever. He
Oh, of
didn't,
course.
he wanted to be clean. Um, that was just helping him get to that point.
Yeah.
So, you know, he didn't have any accidents with UPS. He actually was, I wanna say, the employee of the month a couple of times in his 2-year
That's really
time.
cool.
People loved him, like the customers loved him, like I get messages all the time that people just, he was just a good man, sweet,
Personable,
very
probably.
personable, very sweet. I think it was the year 2019. Maybe my dates are a little off, but so he had to go back in for another physical, right?
Okay.
With UDOT, and they didn't pass him because he was on methadone.
So they hired him
They
before
hired
because he was on
him,
methadone, but
yeah,
then they said, "No, you
but they
can't do
said
it."
no.
Was that a policy change within that time, or did they
No,
just kinda change
from
their
what I've
mind?
understood and understand back then, um, UDOT physicians can dictate. They can decide on what.
Really?
Yes,
That seems kinda dumb.
yes. So this doctor had told Colt that, we're not going to fire you, but you've got to get off your methadone, and if you want to drive.
Mm,
Me not being an addict, I don't know what that's like. I don't know what it's like to be on a certain dosage and then have to taper off in a certain amount of time. I
yeah.
think they gave him like 5 to 6 months, I think. I just know that when Colt was told this, right? Like when the physician told him that he couldn't drive anymore, it was devastating.
Yeah,
It
because that's what
was
was keeping him off the street.
devastating to him. That was, he was proud. He was so proud of that job. He thrived. And, like I said, he had bought his truck and he was really hoping to just live a better life. He
Yeah.
had struggled for a long time. Um, so that was a huge blow, and he did. He tapered. He tapered down, tapered down, tapered down, and it got to like 5 milligram. And I think this was in June of 19. I saw him in Orem in his truck, and he had some dude with him. And I just got this sinking, deep pain in my soul. I'm like, he's back.
Yeah.
And he was. He had, tapered down enough and had heard that if he used, I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure what he thought, but I know that there was like a process in his brain where he thought he could use and then be okay, get
Yeah,
off of
use a
it.
little bit
Yes,
and
yeah, and then go back to UPS.
yeah.
That was his goal. I mean, his goal always was to get back there. So, yeah. Anyway, he ended up using, and for 6 years, spiraled. Uh, spiraled. In just May 18th of 2025, he passed away of a fentanyl overdose. He had OD'd in 2000, yeah, 22. I was living at my mom's house,
Okay.
and he was living there too. And I found him. He was Narcaned. We had some Narcan, so we
Yeah.
Narcaned him.
We had that at my school too, just in
Yes,
case.
it is always, yeah, please always carry Narcan in your car, in your backpack, wherever. Just have it with you
Yeah.
because you never know. Even if you don't know anybody, you could, I mean, I have found somebody just laying in their van. So having Narcan is amazing. Um, so anyway, we got him into uh, Reflections. Sweet Dustin Barker helped me get Colt into Reflections. He was only there for 30 days.
Okay.
He got out and immediately started using again.
The
And
30 days is not a long time
it's
to
not
stay
a long
sober.
time. No, no. And at that point, he wasn't working, and so he didn't have insurance. So he was on
Okay.
state insurance, which is Medicaid,
Yep.
and it is a great insurance, but it's really hard to find treatment with certain types of Medicaid,
Yeah.
and they only could take him for 30 days. So he gets out, and it's just constant. He had got a girlfriend, and she was in active addiction as well. So that was fun,
Yeah.
like living there with my brother and his girlfriend um, in active addiction, and trying to be the protective big sister and trying to like move forward with my life, like
Yeah.
working and taking care of my kids and, just life.
And sometimes that can be a good or a bad thing because sometimes if you're with someone else and then they say, I want to change, it motivates you to change,
Oh,
right? But
yeah.
then if they don't want to change, that keeps you going.
Yeah,
And I found out we have a mutual friend, Manny Lopez,
I do.
him and Misty.
Yeah.
Yeah, Manny's my
Yes.
boy. So shout out to Manny.
They're so
They are
great.
awesome. They have a great story.
Yes, they do. They're
Yeah.
doing such wonderful things in the community.
And he comes to our school every year.
Yeah.
And him and Portia Louder,
Yeah.
they come together. And Manny told the story like it was toxic. Me and Misty were toxic
Yeah.
together. And now they are each other's
I
strengths,
know.
which is awesome.
I know.
And so it sounds like in his
I think it's
situation,
beautiful.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
In his situation, he wasn't working.
Yeah.
He didn't have a car. She was working. She had a car.
Oh, so they could feed off of each other.
Yeah. So, anyway, that happened for about 4 years ish, where they were together, and it was a nightmare.
And you were living at the house at the same
I
time.
was living at the time. I was living there at the time. Yeah. I finally had back up a little bit. So in the year 2023, my daughter was living in Ohio with her
Mhm.
boyfriend, and had just had my grandbaby Malcolm. And I had gone out there for 2 weeks. I'd come back, and her boyfriend had decided that he didn't want to be a dad.
Jeez.
So she came back. She came back to Utah with, I think Malcolm was 2 weeks old at the time.
Okay.
Michaela's dad, Dave, went and picked them up and flew them back home.
Okay.
So there's me, Michaela, her brand new little baby, Colt, and his girlfriend, and my mom. So that was fun.
Full
It
house.
was a full house.
And they're actively using
They're
at this
actively
time.
using. That was a situation where, now that Malcolm had come to live,
Mhm.
you know, there, no, we're not doing that anymore. It kept going for a little while. He was a few months old, and there was an altercation that I'm just like, get out. I love you with my whole heart, Colt. And he knew it,
Yeah.
but he also knew that my child and my grandbaby were the most important things to me. And we're not going to let that baby grow up the way that Michaela, Logan, and Tristan did.
Yeah.
They watched Colt struggle their entire lives. So yeah, I mean, it really wasn't my decision because it wasn't my house, but because I'm bossy and
Yeah.
I'm like, get out.
I'm sure you had conversations with your mom about
Oh,
it though.
several times. It
Yeah.
was hard. Yeah, like my mom really had a hard time with that, right? Because I mean, that's her only son, her boy.
Mhm.
Um, he was just our pride and joy. I
Yeah.
want to say that. Like, he wasn't my baby, but like
Yeah.
my mom being a single mom our whole lives, I mean, I took care of him. She would get up and go to work early in the morning, and I would get him ready for school, or I would make dinner when she had to work late.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard. It was a hard time,
I bet.
back then, being a child, but having that protective nature where I
Yeah.
wanted to take care of him.
And they always say your mother or a mother is only as happy as their saddest
Oh,
child, right?
100%.
So I'm
I've
sure
heard that.
she was just absolutely dying that he was this way, and she was probably sympathizing with him a lot
Oh,
with that. And so I'm sure it was
yes.
very hard when you would talk to her
Yes.
about it, like, "Oh,
Yes.
give him another chance, give him another
And I
chance."
was a lot like her in that. Like, we have I I have a big heart. I
Yeah.
really do. I want to save the world. More importantly, I wanted to save my brother, because, there were so many people around us that were passing away. At
Yeah.
this point, fentanyl it was
It's
huge.
blowing up.
Everybody's passing away. So at that point though, I'm like, we're not doing this anymore, Cole. So he actually moved down to Goshen with his girlfriend, and he stayed there for a while and then got picked up, went to jail. And at that point, I had started going to a Families of Addicts group through RDO. It's a rehab in Provo.
Okay.
So every Wednesday night from 6 to 8, I go, and Todd Lyle and Elisa Griffith, they are the facilitators. They
Okay.
just come in and they let us talk. Family members, any family member can come in. I've chose to go every Wednesday and just check in and talk about, my struggles. And, at that time it was with Colt being an addiction.
Of course.
He ended up, getting into RDO due to, just, I think my knowing people there,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh, connections are
get him in
huge.
there.
Yep. Connections
Yeah.
are huge.
And I've really realized that they are, connections are so big. You know, you can just call somebody and be like, hey, help. And a lot of times they do. Or if they don't know somebody, somebody else knows somebody.
They know who to reach out to. Yeah.
Yes.
The
And
recovery community is
oh my
amazing.
gosh, it's so, so beautiful. So we started going through our do, and I continued to keep going to my group. In this time frame, I had a couple boyfriends that struggled with addiction. uh
So you're just seeing it left and right.
yeah, I've really, yeah, I mean, my whole
Really?
my whole life,
Yeah.
my whole life, being born into it, with my dad being an alcoholic, and watching and witnessing some of those things. Do have an older brother, a half brother, Brandon, that also struggled. So my dad, my older brother, and Colt. So all the boys, struggled with addiction. Um, but yeah, so I have been around it my entire life. Again, not an addict myself. Not another, some things, yeah, like shopping, and
Yeah.
everyone's an addict in some way.
Something.
But drugs, no. So I started learning through going to the group. I'm very codependent. I want to help people. I'm a people pleaser, and that I have doubted myself in certain ways or certain aspects, and
Hmm.
so I've just poured that into other people and not helped myself when I should.
I think that's very common with women, especially mothers,
I
because
think so. We're
mothers
just
are always,
nurturing.
yeah, very nurturing, especially when they
Yeah.
have kids
hmm
and they want other people to be happy.
Yes.
And it's really hard.
That's the thing, is I want, and I still do. I still struggle with this, even going to the group for 2 years. I want everything around everybody to be good and okay, so that they're okay.
Yeah.
And then I feel better. I feel better, even though, like, I'm taking on all of that stuff,
Yeah.
and it's literally destroying me. Having an ex-boyfriend that was clean, we got together and started using while we were together, and then just kind of going through that process of that was very, very difficult, on top of Colt
Yeah.
being in addiction and worrying about if he was going to pass away or not. Um, yeah, I have learned a lot, going through the group. Um, I've always known that I have such a passion for the recovery community, or wanting to educate myself on the reasoning to why.
Yeah. You want to
Why?
understand why he
Why?
was doing it.
Why? And so I started talking to people, and them, addicts, or recovering addicts, or active addicts, started asking questions, and just wanting to know. I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know why.
Yeah.
And so we I started learning, and I started going to recovery events, and I mean, I'm definitely a huge Facebook person.
Yeah.
I post everything, and most of the time I don't care, you know? It's just me sharing and feeling, and if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. But I started doing a lot more of that.
That's
Just my
good.
thoughts on recovery and addiction, and how I feel about it, with watching it
Yeah.
and feeling it my entire life. You know, people have said, "Well, you're not an addict. You have no idea." You're absolutely right. On that part of it, I don't. But being on this part of it, right? And watching Colt cry and be in total torture with losing his UPS job, and losing all of it,
Yeah.
watching that pain in his eyes constantly and knowing that he's the only person that can change it, but he's not.
But it doesn't affect just him, it affects everybody
Oh,
around him,
yeah,
especially
yeah,
family when he's
yeah,
living with them,
and a lot
depending
of
on him.
people didn't understand that. I think they are learning to understand that now, that addiction is a family disease,
Yeah.
but I don't think a lot of people do know that, or addicts don't really understand what it does to the people that are closest to them. Not eating, not sleeping, abandoning their own family to take care of you, um, because they love you.
Yeah.
They love you, and that's what I would tell Cole all the time. Like, your mama, your sisters love you more than anything in this whole world. Like, we don't want you to go. We want you to stay, and we want you to thrive, and we want you to tell your story. I this was my thing, right? Like, we had gone to a gala at the Marriott back in 2024. It was the Sober Foundation with Susan Peterson.
Okay.
Lisa Griffith had invited Colt and I to go, and we got to dress up as the Peaky Blinders, and
That'd
it
be
was pretty
fun.
bad. It was cool.
Yeah.
Um, and I just remember sitting there with him, and like, we got to meet Randall Carlisle, which he was a newscaster on Channel 4.
Yep.
We were so pumped, like, because my grandma loved him.
Okay, that's awesome.
And anyway, we're at this gala and we're just meeting all of these people, and it's in regards to sober living, that people raise money
Yeah.
for sober living. And I just remember sitting there and just being teary-eyed and just thinking, like, how beautiful is the recovery community, right? Like, they've hugged me, they've told me how important I am, like Colt and I, we're locked arms. We are a team. We are the street soldiers, and we are going to kick ass. We're going to save people. We're going to
Yeah.
travel around the world, and he's going to tell his story, and I'm just going to be behind him, clapping my hands. And that was my thought. That was it. Like, he's going to get it.
And how is he doing at this time with
At
his
this
drug
time,
addiction?
he is in RDU. So
Okay.
he's in inpatient. He's doing pretty good. He's good. But being the person that's closest to him, or one of the people that are closer to him, I could feel there's it wasn't okay. And I don't know if it was because, like, we had experienced that for so many years, where we get so pumped up and we're so hopeful,
Yeah.
only to be, like, let down, right? That he starts using again. So I can't really say, if what it was. In my soul, I just felt something. He graduated. So he graduated from inpatient and then went into sober living,
Okay.
through Ardu. He was living in Orem at the Orem Sober House, and it was wintertime. So it was about a year ago that all this was happening. And um, I remember, going and taking him groceries, or picking him up to go to IOP, or alumni on Wednesday nights. I'd pick him and a bunch of buddies up from the sober living, and like, we'd cruise to Provo, which
Yeah.
was so great because I got to sit with Colt, and I got to meet amazing people, Jordan and Ray and Chris. They were just guys that lived with Colt at the sober living house. And we would just drive, and I'd drop him off, and I would just tell him I loved him, and they would call me a sister.
That's cool.
So he was doing pretty good. He was really wrapping his arms around Jordan. Jordan was a lot younger than him, but in recovery, and just trying to share his experiences being older. You don't want to do this, dude. You're so young. You don't want to live like, you don't want to be 39 years old, 40 years old, because he was 40 at the time.
Yeah,
You don't want
because
to
he
be,
knows.
yeah, you don't want to be 40 living like me, not having a car, not having a job, and he was great with that. He really helped people. But by saying some of those things, I could the shame. There was a lot of shame. He was very ashamed of what he had done,
Yeah.
and the things that he had put us through, and really was hard on himself for still being in addiction, but also giving himself grace, to because he was 40 years old and he had overcome 24 years of that. So he had kind of started to isolate a little bit while he was in sober living. My mom is renovating her house. And so he was constantly, like getting over there and just working all day long by himself. Um, and my mom kept telling him, Colt, you don't have to do this. Like, go get a job, like, live your life.
Yeah.
Like, the house it'll get done. Um, and he's like, no, mom, no, mom, I got to do this. Like, I've put you through hell. Like, this is my sorry. And yeah, but also I think too that was him. Um, I think Colt was really scared of life. I really think that he was afraid to move forward, you
Yeah.
know. Or he would say sometimes that if he couldn't get a job at UPS, which was like the highlight of his life, that he had to get something better. And so I'm not going to work anywhere
I'm
unless.
proving myself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot. There's a lot of people that don't just go get a job at like a gas station or McDonald's because it's embarrassing for them, you know.
At 40 years old,
Yeah,
especially. Yeah.
yeah. Um, and I understand that. But at the same time, you are alive and you are able to get a job.
Yeah.
And that's just a little stepping stone for what you can do. And I
I
just
I
kept
I don't think anyone who is going through recovery should be embarrassed about going back and starting
no,
over because everyone who goes through recovery is starting over.
it's true.
And
And
so,
how beautiful is that?
yeah, and so
That
going to
you've
McDonald's is not
yes,
embarrassing because you're
yes,
clean and you're
yes,
working now. It's so
yes,
much better, right? So
yes.
if anyone's out there who's listening, like, don't be ashamed of starting over because that is where you need to go. Everyone has to start over. So many people, the people at Cedar Ridge that I work with, there's some who are 50, 60 years old
Yeah,
starting over.
yep.
Nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's beautiful.
It
I
is.
mean, they've gone through the depths of hell. Literally,
Exactly.
literally. And they're coming out of it and they're trying and doing.
Yeah.
They're doing it. And I just kept telling Colt, like, you're doing it, dude. Like, I mean, I'd post my TikToks, like his
Yeah.
picture. People thought that he looked a lot like Vanilla Ice. I don't even
Okay.
remember. I don't even know the guy's name. But I was just a huge cheerleader, constantly
Mhm.
posting like dude's on his way to recovery, first step, he's doing so good, and just cheering him on. Uh, on April 6th of this year, he had asked my mom to borrow her car because he forgot his AirPod at a friend's house.
Okay.
And he was doing pretty good at this point. And so my mom's like, yeah, you could, she wanted to give him opportunities to like be a grown up, right? Like take the car. So he took the car. About an hour later, she noticed that her car was at some house and her key, she had a tracker on her keys. Her keys were at the hospital, at Timpanogos Hospital in Orem. Cole's not answering his phone. So she called the hospital and they had confirmed that he had OD'd at his dealer's house. And his dealer had Narcaned him and brought him back. And he was okay. He was alive. Uh, and that was a devastating blow. Like I had gotten calls after calls after calls. I had found him before. So when she called and told me that he's at the hospital, I don't know if he's okay.
Yeah.
The panic, the
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 wondering.
nausea, the pain, getting into the truck and like just rushing to the hospital yet again, um, just to find out that he's okay. Thank God. And then the days following that, he was like, yeah, I messed up. I messed up. And, I'm sorry, I'm never going to do that again. I'm like, and he was really good. He was really good at masking himself.
Mhm.
We could see it a little bit, right? But I think we wanted so much to believe. So Mother's Day, we all got together and, I made dinner and we were at my mom's house just in the backyard, roasting marshmallows and laughing and playing. And he's playing with Malcolm. And I got a glimpse of his eye. Like just I like made eye contact with him, which didn't happen very often. And we got eye contact for just a split second. And it made me feel something, like I just saw him. I saw him. And um, it was my son Logan Tristan's birthday the week after. So the 21st of May was his birthday.
Okay.
And so the week started, going on. And I had texted him and said, hey, I want you to build Tristan a cornhole for me, for his birthday. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. And I said, I want you to tag it up because he was a really good tag artist. Very good artist. So talented. He told me he would. And then Friday, talked to him. Saturday, we went to the Alano meeting in
Hmm.
Provo. I tried to really again, immerse myself in the recovery community. And I mean, I would go to meetings by myself.
Yeah.
Maybe that's weird. I don't know. I really find joy in it though.
If
Um,
it's helping you, why not?
right. So I had texted him and asked him if he wanted to go. And he's like, sure. And I'm like, oh my God, cool. He said yes. So I rushed from Sandy because I was out there with some friends, rushed from Sandy down to American Fork, picked him up. He came outside with a black backpack and my heart sunk because it was, I don't know. I guess when
Hmm.
that's just something that he carried around with him when he wasn't doing very well.
Yeah.
So we drove up to Provo or down to Provo and we walked in. And so this is about a month and a half after he had OD'd on April 6th in Orem.
Okay.
So, and a lot of people had found out about that. So everybody's just like, Cole, they're hugging him and they're like, Cole, and shaking his hand and he's hugging everybody. And he's just, it's so great. It's beautiful. And I'm pumped because he's being, he's being social, connection.
Yeah.
And that's so important. That is so important with recovery, staying connected.
Absolutely.
And so I was just excited and we sat down and he's introducing me to all of these people and he's like, did you guys, this is Brooke, this is my sister, this is my big sister Brooke. And he was just so he was proud,
Yeah.
you know? And I had heard that he had told people what I'm trying to do in the community, that I show so much support to him and I'm trying to learn and I'm trying to educate myself to help him.
Yeah.
But he had told people that. And he just thought he thought it was really cool that somebody was really trying to understand. So he was just pumped that I'm there with him. And then my daughter and my sister, they both work in recovery. So they were there with their people. And so we all sat together and there was a speaker. I can't remember the speaker's name. Wonderful guy. Um, but we all of us sat together and he was wearing the shoes that I had got him. They were some tan DCs. He loved DCs. He didn't stop. He didn't ever
I,
stop wearing
I
DCs.
remember DC.
Yeah, he continued to keep wearing it, hats and shoes. And um, I had made him a bracelet a week prior because he had said that he wanted, um, one of my rock beads bracelets to go with his shoes because
That's
he was
cool.
kind of a pretty boy. Anyway, so we're all there and we took a picture at the end of the night. All three of us, me, Randy, and Colt, because we were all there, took a picture and I took him home
Hmm.
to my mom's and I dropped him off and he got out of the truck and he was kind of he was kind of in a pissy mood because he would get that way, I mean, we all do.
Yeah.
We're the Rushtons, so we get like that. Um, but he got out of the truck and he's like, he turned before he shut the door and he said, I love you, Brooke. And I said, I love you, Colt. And I waited for him to get into the house like a mama would,
Yeah.
a big sissy would. And I went home, but I remember I called my mom when I dropped him off and I cried and I just said, something's wrong, something's wrong. And she was in Tahoe at the time with her boyfriend. So Colt was home alone. And, she had made it very clear, make sure that you check on your brother, go over once in a while, call him. And I mean, I would do that anyway, but she was concerned.
Just because she was gone.
Yeah, I mean, he had OD'd a month and a half prior, but he was doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, and she has to live her life. She was a single mom for three bad kids her whole life, worked really hard, finally retired a few years ago, has a really amazing boyfriend, Dennis Harris. He was part of the police stuff around here.
Good for her.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And me and Colt and Randy are like, "Hell yeah, like, you're living your life, you're going to Tahoe, you're going to Hawaii, you've got this amazing man that loves you so much, like, go live your life." Um, so that's where she was in Tahoe, and then I live in Lehigh, so he was home alone, and, Sunday came, and, I had Mac, my grandbaby, and I was watching him, and it was like 5 o'clock the next day, like PM, and Michaela came to pick up Mac, and she got a call from my sister, and my sister's like, "Mom hasn't seen Colt on the camera today." Like, my mom had cameras all over her house because
She well,
Colt,
she
well,
she deserves
Colt,
to,
well, she
right?
does deserve to.
Yeah.
Colt did a lot of stealing, a lot of stuff. I mean,
Yep.
I don't know how many times we went up to the pawn shops to get stuff out.
That's a common thing when
Very,
you're
very
still
much.
working with
Yeah.
someone
So
who's in
there
addiction.
were a lot of cameras, and anyway, so I ended up going over to my mom's house, and I found him with my daughter and my sister. So we found him, and awful, terrible. And the journey that we've been on since that day has been super hard. It's really hard to it's always been me, Colt, and Randy.
Yeah.
It's always been the 3 kids, and, having him pass away has been really hard, really difficult. Uh, but also the support that we've gotten through the community and through friends and through people that didn't really even know him, and through my sharing this type of situation, right,
Mhm.
where, um I'm not trying to share his story. I'm sharing the story where his family had to go with him.
Absolutely.
And it's healing. It's helping us. It's helping us, share his life. He wasn't just an addict. He was a sweet, funny, weird, funny. Believed in aliens and Sasquatch.
Hey, nothing
And
wrong with
no,
that.
there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I am a believer. Um, and kind. You know,
Mhm.
literally hundreds of messages from people just telling me how beautiful of a soul he is, and took care of them and helped them in their recovery journey, and was a light, is a light. I don't ever say was.
Yeah,
I have a hard time talking about him in a past sense. He's still my brother. He's still here. He's still pushing me along. He's still helping me meet people to
absolutely.
share our story and for us to heal. So
How has life been these past 7 months?
I think at the very beginning it was, and I don't know what everybody believes in, but this is what I believe in, that he doesn't have to struggle anymore. He doesn't
Absolutely.
have to be in that turmoil and that pain and that, like, just deep sorrow constantly. I don't believe that he is struggling. I believe that he is thriving and he's okay. So I think at the very beginning, that's where I went to that. And
Mhm.
I still do, but more so then. I'm like, oh, well, he's okay. He doesn't have to struggle anymore. But as the months have progressed, have moved on, I miss him.
Oh, yeah.
He would go to rehab for 6 months, or jail or whatever, and then he'd get out. So I think my brain is like, well, he's getting out. He'll be home soon. Um, so that's hard, and then the holidays are coming up, and that's hard. What really I'm having a hard time with is going from 2025 to 2026, and he's not here. Like, that is weird to me.
It's gonna be the first transition
It's
without him.
weird. Yeah. Um, I know that kinda sounds weird. Like, Christmas is hard, like, that's hard, but, like, the year changing is weird. It's hard for me. Um, it's yeah, it's hard.
Absolutely.
Grief is crazy. Grief is crazy because nobody tells you how to do it. Nobody knows how to do it, Like, I think I'm spiraling out of control where I'm just sobbing all the time till, like, the next day, like, I'm just kinda okay. Yeah, it's a hard thing to
It is.
process. I don't know, and I just want people to understand that it's okay. It's okay that you miss them and that you love them. It's because you loved them so much that you miss their presence in this world.
Yeah,
They were such a light in this world that you miss them,
for sure.
and that's okay. And he is a beautiful, beautiful soul, and people love him. So yeah, we're just trying to get through it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
because it's recent, within the last year, so
Yeah. Yeah, the last 7 months since he's passed, and so we're just trying to figure it out.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So one thing I usually ask people
Yeah.
when they come in, because you didn't go through the recovery, I
Yeah.
usually say, "What was your why, and what advice do you have?" So I wanna switch that up for you, and I wanna say, what
Yeah.
advice do you have for someone who is watching someone struggle? Because like you said before, you can't make someone get clean.
You
They
cannot.
have to want it.
Mhm.
Most of them want it, but they just don't know how to get it, and
Yes.
sometimes one path that worked for someone else doesn't work for them, right?
Yes. Thank you
S
so very much for bringing that up.
Yeah.
That is a huge that's a huge message, like,
Oh, I've seen it with everyone.
just because it worked for you doesn't mean that it's gonna work for you.
Yeah.
And that whether that be the MAP program, whether that not be the MAP program, whether
Mhm.
that be going to rehab, whether it not be, nobody's recovery journey is the same.
It's not.
And as a family member, none of our journeys are the same. You know, I don't know what your relationship was with your brother and how that all went about, but this is how our relationship was. And this is what worked for our family. You know, there was with 24 years of addiction, there was a lot of enabling or a lot of manipulating, uh, a lot of boundaries. And I've also learned, like, just because your boundary of kicking your son out of the house and or not speaking no contact worked for your family and worked for you to have peace in your heart doesn't mean that that's going to be the same for this mama over here or this sister. Boundaries are individualized. Somebody can tell you what you should or should not do, but ultimately, as a family member,
Mm.
not being an addict, you're gonna do it how you feel that you should do it. Did we do it wrong? A lot of the time, I don't know, right? Because what is wrong and what is right?
You're probably doing what you thought was right.
Nobody knows what's wrong or right when it comes to addiction. And people that say they do, they know if people knew exactly what to do and how to handle addiction, then it would be solved.
It'd be work the first
There
time.
wouldn't be all of these different rehab facilities and different therapists and such and so forth. Like, if people knew what they were doing completely,
Mhm.
then people would be okay. So I guess that's my advice. Just love your loved one as much as, I mean, love them forever, but do what you can do and don't let anybody tell you how to do it
Or that it's wrong.
or that it's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not in recovery again. Watching
And
my
I've never
little
gone through it either,
right,
so I don't
right,
fully understand.
watching my little brother get on the MAP program and thrive in his job at UPS, and then being told that he could not be a UPS driver anymore, and watching the devastation. Yeah, dude could have stopped taking methadone. He could have, went through the process of not taking it anymore. I don't know what something in his brain, right? Something in his brain stopped him from not wanting to pick up. And I feel awful for that. But at the same time, like, let's stop shaming people. Let's stop shaming
Yes.
people. It's the year 2025. You know, doctors, I think there is a law now actually where medically assisted treatment is okay. Don't, we'll have to, I mean, you'll have to do your research on that. But now, I mean, Colt probably could have been on methadone and still worked for UPS.
We would have changed things
It
probably.
would have, and again, I'm not saying that Colt wasn't at fault. He was an addict. He had the choices. He made choices. But I think other people can play into that too. That's what I'm
For
saying,
sure. That's how the community works,
Right.
for
And I
especially.
guess that's my message. And that's how what I would tell other family members or people is that, like, it is their choice, but you need to understand also that they are sick. They're sick. And maybe they can't, get up and go to work. Maybe they do need help getting an application or two. Maybe they do need a ride. And that's okay if you don't do that, but it's okay if you do.
Yeah.
Help as much as you can. Yeah.
That's no, it's great advice. It's
Yeah.
great advice.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for coming
Thank
and telling the
you.
story.
Thank you for having me.
So, do you wanna give out your handle on TikTok so people can see Colt's
Yeah,
story?
it's Brooke Rushton 37 on TikTok and Brooke Rushton on Facebook.
Go check her out. Go
Thank
see the
you.
story. Go reach out if you know someone else who's going through it. Reach out to Brooke.
Thank
And
you.
again, she might not give you the information to say, "Hey, this is exactly what you need to do," but this is something that we did, or this is something we experienced, so it could help you out. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.